This is actually our first episode in English, first of many actually, and we're a bit excited to have you here. Founders love Tarik. We have enjoyed beers with you also. We had a great food a few weeks ago, so welcome.
It's an honor, especially on the first episode in English. Super excited to kind of talk about stuff.
Tell us your background. You didn't always live in Athens.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I joined VC 3 years ago, which I guess we can say the last 5 years or so is a time frame where there's a lot of new VCs. The existing VCs are kind of growing, especially in this part of the world. So that was a period of time where a lot of talent from adjacent industries kind of moving towards VC. So that was that kind of a time. My background originally is I studied economics and business actually, and then moved into private equity. That was my first kind of out of college job. Before that, I did a year of internship in investment banking, which helped me see some kind of traditional industries. In private equity as well, I spent 2 years looking at like mid-market companies in Turkey, which was a super fun job. My transition into VC was, again, like in that time of transition where a lot of people from different backgrounds was moving there because the industry was growing. For me, I was lucky that one of my friends were starting a company. It was like a gaming company. I put a small angel check because I was interested in that guy. He was super smart. He helped me break into private equity in the first place. So I did a small angel check. I ended up co-investing with my previous employer. So they were a pre-seed fund investing in gaming companies. We met by co-investing, and I decided that I like that kind of job description. They were looking for someone like me, so that's kind of how I initially broke into VC.
And so how that investment going? The first angel check.
It's going pretty well actually. They just did a new round. Everything's going smoothly. So 1 out of 1. Good angel.
Okay, let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
I would love to unpack like VC insights for founders later on. What could you share as for your experience in E2VC, the global first approach they have?
So it was a very eye-opening experience for me to kind of understand how they invested, and it's changed a lot. Like even ever since I kind of joined VC, the VC industry by itself is changing a lot. But how we invested in my previous fund, it also changed quite a bit. It was an enterprise software focused fund. It had like a couple theses, but like the most dominant one was enterprise software. The other one was gaming. So enterprise software, it's a very American market. The biggest customers, the most innovative customers, the most likely pilots, they're all in the US. So we were pushing founders to kind of go and start their companies there for them to increase their odds to kind of be closer to their customer and be closer to their future employees, future investors. So that was our thesis in my previous fund, E2VC. I had a really good time there. So yeah, that's kind of the mentality.
You had any limitations investing only in Turkish founders, or was it global from the first day?
So it was like mainly Turkish founders in the US or Turkish founders who wanted to go to the US. But also the fund was a regional one. So we also covered Greece, Romania, which kind of I was looking at, other countries in Eastern Europe, Hungary, Poland. So like basically every founder from these regions that are building a global business was in our scope. And around 50% of the portfolio was international, like non-Turkish, let's call it. So it's a pretty diverse geographically as well.
You worked like almost 3 years into VC, and now you moved to Athens. Could you tell us about your new venture you join?
Yeah. What's the next step? You just enjoy Athens, or is something more?
Yeah, I definitely do enjoy here. It's been like a month since I moved. It's definitely nice. We're starting a new fund here. Both of my partners are Greek. It's a Greek-originated fund focusing on kind of deep tech, a lot of hard stuff in general. Very early stage investments, like first check generally. So we're super excited to kick that off. We're still in a very infant stage, still don't have a website, operating in a stealth manner, but I'm actively kind of talking to founders and kind of trying to scout our first investments, basically.
Yeah, your thesis is really interesting because in our community, we really love founders that build or are interested in building deep tech. and we actually think that this is a great way to change the world, not from just a B2B SaaS startup.
Yeah, it's also underserved. I mean, it's most very successful deep tech founders might not always fit into the kind of successful founder persona, or a very, I guess, Americanized version of a successful startup founder personality. We're trying to look for, I guess, alpha in those cracks, basically.
Let's take a step back, and I'm curious that back in the day, Takis also me and Takis met you in an event you hosted 2 years ago, 2023, with Alex Stoulakis and Gove. How did you decide to take the extra mile and take the extra step, starting as an analyst?
So I was lucky enough to work with people who gave me a lot of authority. I guess that's one thing that I'm really happy about, like in my previous job choices, basically. So I was working for a fund that was like kind of not a very big one, but regionally it was kind of well known, and there was a large team, like 10 or so people. We had enough staff that we could spend energy, like quite a bit of energy, to different markets. One of them was Greece. We had a person living in Hungary and then Croatia. We had one person in Poland, so we actually had like real presence in those regions. And for me, like what I was lucky about is I was traveling here, but I also had the authority to kind of find people and host events and host a private dinner for founders and do all this stuff without kind of a partner needing to hold my hand. They were just kind of giving me guidance, and then budget-wise, authority-wise, PR-wise, there wasn't a lot of kind of restrictions for me to do something, which helped me grow quite a bit.
Shall we get back to the deep tech founders? I'm really interested to see your approach, and what are you looking for someone starting a deep tech company, or someone that thinks he's going to start building a company?
Yeah, deep tech founders, I mean, some of them come from a lab, working to develop like a very early version of a technology for years, now kind of commercializing it or trying to turn it into a company. Some of them come from like deep tech startups, whether it's in AI, climate, energy, hardware, whatever. That's basically like kind of the main, like two main channels of where these people come from. And they usually have a very, I guess they're building a very niche piece of technology, but targeting a very big problem. The problem might be like 2-3 steps away from like the technology, but these are generally very big problems that concern the whole world. So that's, I guess, what makes it very interesting, and what makes it a good mission to kind of back these people and try to help them become successful for us.
What we've seen from our experience, from our studies in computer science with Takis, is that the most hardcore engineers we know are people that are not even curious about entrepreneurship. So, what do you see from your experience? They just want to solve hard problems and code great products, but they're not even curious about business-wise.
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is it something that you do or not? It's. I mean, you are a founder when you start a company, and you probably need to talk to your customers, talk to a lot of people. But is it the essence of your company, or is the essence of your company the problem that you're solving? So not everyone like might be interested in starting a company, but a lot of like, let's call it like geeks or like introverts might solve very expensive problems for the world, like without being interested in entrepreneurship. Like that's my case or thinking, basically.
Obviously, like VC is a very competitive space, and as you said, a lot of people have moved into VC the last couple of years. So how do you think about your unfair advantage?
Good question. So obviously, I mean, we're starting a new fund here from scratch, which means we have a claim that we, as a company, have an unfair advantage in the market, and in this very competitive space, we have a claim to differentiate ourselves. Obviously, we have a competitive advantage as a team, which is like, I guess, like ex-founder, ex-VC, very experienced bunch of people. Me personally, it's a very hard question to answer. I'm a very emotional person, and I'm kind of I guess you could call it like a geek. I was always like interested in video games growing up. I had a very, I think, analytical brain, even though I pursued a more, I guess, balanced route, like studied economics, didn't do engineering. I think I still kind of have a easier time bonding with people. So I definitely see my unfair advantages kind of building relationships and kind of keeping those relationships active and genuine, so that my relationships kind of feed and turn it into a flywheel for me to kind of access good deals. And that's basically how I measure it. Like the more good deals that I see through my network, through my let's call them friendships, because I genuinely kind of like those people and enjoy spending time with them. And the more I have access, the more access I have with those kind of resources, the more I consider myself successful, basically.
On one hand, we have your finance background, and on the other hand, we have deep tech engineers and the pretty tough problems that they're solving. Are there any barriers on the communication side, and how do you keep on track with this?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's very easy to sound like a prick if you're a finance person, because you have a very clear metric. Like you're talking money, business. You're kind of simplifying things and like asking for competition for a guy who's building technology in a lab. I guess I do my best to not. I also don't like feel like I'm that much qualified to kind of judge people's kind of strategies, businesses. I haven't built a business myself. I just look like thousands of them maybe over the years. So I just try to kind of ask a lot of questions and come into a result or come into some kind of agreement by using questions. So that's kind of my method. I'm not that big of a even I have like prejudice or opinion. I'm not that expressive about those. I just try to ask questions and kind of get people to tell me about them, basically. And I'm also very open when I'm talking to someone who's building something that I have no idea about. First of all, I try to prep for it, obviously, because I mean you can't prep for the technology, right? If someone's building something super complicated in technology, I can't do prep for an hour and go ask them like a very good technical question. But I can ask them about startups in their industry that are doing something similar and that have grown over the years. So maybe I can ask some, I guess, questions that is relevant for them in that perspective. So I guess being prepared and asking a lot of questions and kind of accepting that you're clueless about most things, basically. That's how I approach it.
What should founders do in order to prepare before knocking the door of a VC to raise some money?
Depends. If it's a very early stage round, like a pre-seed.
Yeah, let's go for pre-seed.
Pre-seed round. I guess it helps to know the people a bit that kind of you're reaching out to. Some background check. Try to see like what they invested in the past. Is it relevant for you? Like what material they have online. I think it's overall good practice. Like whoever you're trying to build a relationship with is to have a little bit of background. Obviously, with VCs, doing some kind of warm introductions help. So if you have some common friends, go through that. It's a very typical advice. And basically, I guess the most important thing is have a cause to raise money, right? Like, why are you raising money? If you have a very good answer for that and about the urgency in the market, urgency in the technology side or the customer side, is there a burning problem? Like, if you have a good case for that, everything else becomes like irrelevant, basically. So I would, I guess, convince myself that I have to raise money for this and then go to a VC rather than just kind of do it for the sake of it.
I want to circle back to the unfair advantage. Do you think speed to coming into a decision, like writing a check, matters? How do you think about that?
It does, especially in competitive rounds. So some investment rounds, they close very fast. It's happened in the past. If you don't commit in like 24 hours, you might be lost. If you don't commit in the first call, you might lose some rounds. It happens because sometimes the founder got a lead term sheet looking for followers, or it's a very hot industry, very hot founders, they're going to raise in a day. So you might you might have to make these decisions very fast. And it also helps, I think, optically as well. Like it makes you look very, I think doing anything fast, like business-wise, without doing it in a very shitty way, it makes you look smart and good. So it's good for the optics as well.
Yeah, one thing from our experience is that founders are hearing this are irritated because investing cycles take too long. You can't close around in 1 or 2 weeks, and it's probably going to take months. Is it going to be a different approach on your venture? What do you think?
It's very hard to close around in 2 weeks.
But if there's urgency?
If there's urgency, it can. But I mean, that's the thing. Urgency drives it. If there's no urgency, Why would it? It doesn't help anybody, like even the founder, I think. So I don't think like our goal is to make like a 2 week round a standard or something. Like whenever I talk to someone, like I usually do the calls with founders. I tell them, okay, like in 10 days or so, by latest, you'll hear from us. Like, do we want to do more calls, deep dive, something like that, like next steps, or we want to pass on this deal, like we don't want to look at this. You'll hear from me in 10 days about this. So that's the personal timeline that I have and practical day to day that I apply. Round timing is very depending on a lot of factors. Main of them being urgency.
What's the balance between speed and doing the actual and proper due diligence? That was my question, basically.
I think it helps a lot to due diligence, or kind of when it's very early stage, it's like maybe like a deep dive that you're doing to understand the industry. You might want to talk to experts, you might want to read papers, do a lot of like desktop research to understand the industry better. Those, in my opinion, it doesn't really help to make a better investment decision, because your investment decision is mostly kind of founder related. But it helps you ask smarter questions to the founder and kind of get their understanding of how they're looking at things. So it indirectly helps you kind of build a better investment decision or conviction. If you have time, that's why. It's obviously in the VC's interest to take more time. So if I can take a month of building a relationship with you, getting closer, get to know you even better, like let's go out for some drinks, go to your office or go to your lab, whatever. That is more of a, I guess, healthy kind of pace. But obviously, if you do the deep dive, you're going to lose the deal. Like in 2 weeks, there's no deal. So sometimes you have to take that harder decision, accept some things as given, and just go for it. And that's also like, I guess, based on how risk averse you are and your principles. But I think in VC, it's very, very typical to have these moments.
You worked a lot on like this regional part of Europe, like Eastern Europe. How do you feel about it? Do you see like any progress? Of course, like compared to there was nothing like 10 or 15 years ago. There is some growth. We have VC funds here now. So yeah, how do you feel about the progress and the state of it?
I haven't been in it for a very, very long time to compare like what I saw. The numbers are obviously growing. There are more like regional and local businesses as well as like international businesses from the beginning. Obviously, we are at a cycle where VC is still growing a lot, but it's also a very long like feedback cycle business. Like if you can make a fund and then like before like 4 or 5 years, it's very hard to tell if it's gonna go very well or badly. And some companies might like bloom later. You might do a late investment that returns the whole fund. It's very hard to kind of tell if it's doing bad or not. And even if it's doing very well, you might have a hard time converting that success to money because you can't do exit. Some recession comes, there's no IPOs, exits. So it's very hard to measure the actual success of the industry, but you can measure the inputs. So if you see people working at venture capital firms, the amount of early stage rounds, the amount of startups, everything seems to be growing. So this is probably, we'll see in some years whether it's, I guess, translating into real success or not. Like that's the, I guess, overall sentiment that I have.
And what should be the right and the key metrics to judge if an ecosystem is blooming or is going to drop?
I guess over the couple of years, I would look at graduation from like if there's a pre-seed boom. I think in Greece this was like 2021. Like that's how I would estimate it because there was a lot of new funds in 2020 and 2021. So if there are a lot of Series A's happening in these years, this means that those like pre-seed investments kind of grew and turned into real companies. So that could be a metric. Like I guess if I was the government, I would try to kind of see how those investments were growing. So you could maybe look at it like a cohort from every year's pre-seed investments. How many of them are kind of turning into real companies? How many of them are kind of dying out? So that can be one.
So I know that we have a mutual friend, Dimi Elias from Intryc. Yeah. Would you be open to discuss this case on our call?
Yeah. Definitely. So I was the deal lead investing in Intryc with my previous fund. It was a very competitive and intense period during the deal making, I guess, process, which was very fast. So I convinced Dimi to take a call with me, and immediately after our call, I went to the partners and told them basically, hey, these guys are building in a very interesting industry. They seem to be very high energy, very international guys. I guess they seem to have a lot of, I guess, successful people characteristics. You can tell from the super high energy people. We should do something here. And they already had a lead investor, and they were looking to close the rest of the round. That night, I quickly, I guess one thing I did that helped me, maybe it can tie back to the other stuff that I told earlier, was they were building like product analytics for LLMs, which was a very common idea back then. Now they pivoted doing something else with the same technology, but they were doing product analytics. And I basically, before meeting Dimi, I did research in that space. I look at other kind of product analytics companies, some like LLM observability companies. And I think they were impressed that I knew about those like very young competitors, because LLMs themselves are pretty young. So I think they gave me a lot of credit and took the next call so that we could commit fast. But coming back to that, like after call, I did a more structured kind of research in a couple of hours, shared with my partners while setting up the follow-up call with the Intryc guys. There was already a lead investor, so we didn't have like a lot of time to kind of fuck around and make a decision based on whatever. So we just had a follow-up call. Partners felt the same way. We just ended up committing as a follower investor. And yeah, we were in that round. We ended up building a great relationship. It's one of the teams where we work very closely over the years. Yeah, really enjoyed that, both the deal making process and the relationship afterwards.
How did you find out about them?
It was my LinkedIn filters. So Dimi kind of marked himself as a stealth founder. And my rule was always checking those on a daily basis. No matter how busy I am, because like hours matter, right? So I was checking them on a daily basis, even though I was busy with other things.
And he switched to stealth mode, and
he switched to stealth mode, and his profile was already like, I guess he's like VC sexy, right? He was at like Revolut before, very early employee, Meta, some other things. So it was already like a good developer, you can say. So I was very keen to talk to him. So that's how
you explaining the process of like closing that deal got me thinking that we haven't covered what should like a young founder that wants to close their pre-seed round, what should they expect from the process? We talked earlier about
how should they prep?
Yeah, but like what should they expect? Like how is the actual process look like? Because some of them are maybe university students, they don't maybe have a mentor. So this is your chance to give some insights.
It's basically an intense period of relationship building. So we're obviously, I guess, trying to believe the idea, believe the person, and at the same time try to get to know them as well as possible to measure if it's very hard to predict if a company is going to do well or not. That's an obvious fact, statistically as well. But whether you can work well with a person, whether you can add any value to that company, whether you can increase their odds of success with even a small margin, you can predict those by getting to know that person a bit better, or what will their shortcomings will be, and can we kind of address those? Can we support them with other things? Those kind of things you can predict by building a relationship. So it's basically a process of both parties measuring each other. It's not like a VC's kind of this box of cash and you have to convince them to give you money. It's not like that. You're judging them whether they're going to increase your odds of success, or they're going to make you look good, or they're going to kind of somehow help you achieve your dream. And they're also kind of judging you and seeing if you are the right person to work with. It's basically like a mutual kind of process of measuring each other out. So I would focusing on basically whether do they buy into the story, do they want to be a part of it, are they qualified to kind of be in your cap table. It's not something to be I guess over complicated. It's just a partnership So it's, I don't know, like maybe there's more structured advice online, but probably very good of them. But like from my eyes, it's just a bunch of conversations basically.
So let's hop on the other side, on the VC side.
Yeah.
There might be someone watching this right now and planning to or looking keen on joining a VC. What should they expect in order to join as an associate or an analyst?
It's a very open industry. Like tech industry in general, it's very easy to break into, I would say. I might say that from a point of privilege now that I'm in it, but the reason I'm saying is it's a very social industry. There's a lot of events. The companies are generally operating in a very public manner. You can reach out to people and talk to them. Not only in VC, but like in startups and scale-ups in general. So that kind of approachable nature might make it socially easier to kind of break in. It's definitely like a relationship-based industry where most of your job is like doing sales. Always trying to sell your money. So I guess having that kind of mindset, having a good, I guess, understanding of that would definitely make it a plus. And you can break into it from a very different variety of backgrounds. You can be a finance person, private equity, investment banking, or coming from a technical side, maybe an ex-founder or an engineer. Obviously, I guess there's a lot of internships and analyst programs from people coming out of college with different kind of degrees. It's not a very technical industry, so you can break in many ways.
And one last thing, I'm curious. Since you've done also private equity and VC, why would someone want to join VC over private equity?
It's such a different type of business. Like even though your purpose, your KPI is the same, whether you can kind of make money with money, the job itself is so different. Like in private equity, your job is to take established companies and transform them or kind of put them together, and that is a lot of playbooks. So you are doing nothing that's never been done before. So you're strictly following kind of playbooks. You're doing a lot of recruiting for your portfolio companies that, like you're getting a CEO for a company that you acquired. Everything is very structured, and you do it through like a chain of experts. And the job is very well defined. That's a very big difference. Here, your main job is to get to founders. Like as a junior, your job is to support the team in everything, basically, and then get to as many founders as possible to have a good coverage of the market that you're targeting. You can do it in many ways. Like you can make a podcast and be famous and I guess be a good VC like that. Or you can be a good engineer and kind of build your way from there. Or you can be, I don't know, blogger, Substack, but like it doesn't matter. You have to have some way of distribution or some unique angle that make you, I guess, more approachable or more gives you more access to founders. But there's not one way to do it. Especially if you're gonna work for a fund that gives you more freedom to kind of explore your way. You never know what you're gonna do. Like, are you gonna hold events? Maybe you're gonna host like great events for different verticals that will give you a great pipeline of engineers that will become founders one day. So that might be your kind of edge in the industry, which I guess gives way to a lot of creativity. You can achieve these KPIs in many ways. I think that makes it very different than private equity. Your job is very well defined there.
I think it was a great talk. If it goes well, we can host an event and we can do it live with founders watching us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I have like very good advice for founders. I've never been a founder. I guess that's always one caveat that I have to take, because if I was a founder and I saw some VC kind of giving me advice, I would be pissed off. Like, who are you to kind of give me advice?
This is why people love you.
Maybe that's why. Like I'm just trying to explain my perspective and turn it into quasi advice. Like I'm not trying to give like real advice. My partners would be better at doing that because they're like ex-founders. For me, I'm just trying to kind of level it down and show my perspective and see if kind of it makes it easier from the founder's perspective.
And if you're a founder, it's always useful to have the idea of how the other way is thinking. how the other side is thinking when closing a deal, on where looking to source you. It's always interesting to know, so you can prepare for that. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Tarik.